What's up, y'all? Miss Megan Liana here, and welcome back to Be Fucking For Real. It is our Sunday sound off, and I took last week off, and I'm gonna get into why in a minute, but it's something, it's been a crazy couple weeks, and so, I had to come back this week, but I do want to say I intentionally did not do a stream last week, right? And for one, I feel like the news was just so heavy, right? Like, we know what happened, we know who passed, and it was so much dialogue, right? And there was so much dialogue without facts. It was just based off of emotion. And I just, by the time Sunday came, and like I always research for the show, right? So when I'm looking at the topics, I honestly was like, you know what? I'm going to try to find feel good stories to talk about. And I couldn't even find happy shit in the news to talk about. And it was just like, sometimes I think that when there's too much noise, I think there could be like an overstimulation of opinion. And I think there's an overstimulation of commentary. And it's great. I think it's awesome that we're in a space where, people can always like share their thoughts. That's what I do. You know what I'm saying? But I think sometimes it's okay to shut the fuck up. And I felt like last week was the week for me to just really shut the fuck up. Like, it was just too negative. And we talk about how the media only puts out, the negative stuff. And I think I have to look at, me as someone who talks about the news. Like, everything is there. And when there's a story out and then there's just so much commentary and so many conspiracies, the fucking conspiracies. Like, we're in a space now where it's like conspiracies are going to come out and they're going to spread a lot faster before the facts. And I don't know. I just felt like it was a week where I couldn't contribute to the conversations of the chaos that's going on, because last week was fucking chaotic. But baby, we back this week, okay? And what a week to be back, because Jimmy Kimmel got canceled. And he got canceled for a joke, right? And the joke, it was said that, and I'm going to play what he said, because honestly, what he said wasn't that bad. But there's a real reason behind like why he got canceled. And we're going to kind of go down the timeline that led up to his cancellation. But first, I do want to play the video that got him canceled.
New lows over the weekend, with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them, and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. Okay. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction. Demolition, construction. This is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish, okay?
That was what he said. That was the insensitive thing that he said about CK. And I'm not going to say the guy's full name for obvious reasons, but I'm going to just call him CK. He did not say anything derogatory or mean. The joke wasn't about Kirk. The joke was about Trump. And when you look at the joke being about Trump, we should also go down the rabbit hole of Trump's hate for Jimmy Kimmel. And this has been something that's building up, right? So this dates back to 2024. Donald Trump got mad at Jimmy Kimmel when he hosted the Oscars and was making jokes about him. That is when in July 2024, during election season, Trump posted on Truth Social about Jimmy Kimmel, and he set his eye then on getting him off the air. So that was, but at that point, he didn't know that he was going to win. When Stephen Colbert got canceled, Trump also made a tweet that, or it's on Truth Social, so I don't know if it's a truther. I don't know what the fuck you call it. But when he was on, whatchamacallit, when it came to Stephen Colbert, Trump made his comment about Kimmel was one of the people that was next. And it's important to note there's been some back and forth. So as soon as July 22nd, okay, there was where Donald Trump made another post, and this is where he said Jimmy Kimmel was next. So on July 22nd, Donald Trump threatened Jimmy Kimmel and said, the word is, and it's a strong word at that, Jimmy Kimmel is next to go in the, look, this shit is small as hell. Let me make it bigger because y'all know I got my contacts in, but god damn. I am blind. So he said the word is, and it's a strong word, that Kimmel is next to go in the untalented late night sweepstakes, and shortly thereafter, Fallon will be gone. These are people with absolutely no talent who were paid millions of dollars for, in all cases, destroying what used to be great television. It's really good to see them go, and I hope I played a major part in it. And Kimmel reposted that and says, I'm hearing you're next, or maybe it's just another wonderful secret. And that is referring to the letter to Epstein that was released just last week. Last week. And then when he actually gets, canceled, it's Jimmy Kimmel, then he says it's the ratings challenge, Jimmy Kimmel. Congratulations to ABC for finally having the courage to do what is to be done, and blah, blah, blah. He goes into more insults. But there's an audio that came out about what Trump said regarding people who basically make jokes about him and networks. Here's what Trump had to say, and then I'm going to kind of bring this all together too.
Look, that's something that should be talked about for licensing too. When you have a network and you have evening shows and all they do is hit Trump, that's all they do. If you go back, I guess they haven't had a conservative on in years or something, somebody said. But when you go back and you take a look, all they do is hit Trump. They're licensed. They're not allowed to do that. They're an arm of the Democrat Party. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, boom. Here's the problem with that, right? So first thing he talked about was, he said, when you have a network and the show and they're all licensed and they're not allowed to do that, he's referring to the FCC that controls licensing. Now, what led to there was a series of events that happened before Jimmy Kimmel's show was suspended and then canceled. And part of that was Carr, I forget his first name, but Carr, who is the FCC chair, who also is co-author, one of the authors of Project 2025 and what they plan to do with the FCC licensing. He said that directly to ABC, he said, we could do this the easy way or the hard way. These companies can find ways to change conduct and take action, frankly, on Kimmel, or there's going to be additional work for the FCC ahead. He said that on a podcast. After he said that on a podcast, ABC announced that Jimmy Kimmel Live would be preempted indefinitely. And that is because Nexstar, who is the local broadcasting company, they operate 32 ABC affiliate stations. And Nexstar is the company that initially said they would not broadcast the show for the foreseeable future. Now, when it comes to Nexstar is like Sinclair. Most of the local news channels are owned by a broadcast company that is an affiliate to the major company. So that's why ABC has different call letters in every state. Same thing for ABC, CBS, like all these channels. They're the major broadcast company, and then there is a large conglomerate of a broadcast company that owns multiple local stations. So Nexstar and Sinclair broadcast companies, especially Nexstar. Nexstar is currently in a merger. They want to merge with another broadcast company to expand their local TV station database. Now, in order for this merger to go through and get approved, they need the FCC to change the law for that merger. And so when he made that threat, he's basically saying, y'all either going to do this or you're not going to get the merger. And that is everything that is happening with this administration and media companies. Donald Trump sued Facebook for suppression. Mark Zuckerberg and Meta, they paid him like 10 million or something. He sued CBS and ABC. They've settled and paid because they had mergers or just wanted it to go away. All they do is grab these companies by the balls and say, hey, we're going to sue you, or this deal isn't going to go through, or you're going to do what we want. That's bullying and extortion. And another part of the extortion when it came to Jimmy Kimmel is that these companies like Nexstar and Sinclair said that they would put Jimmy Kimmel back on the air if he publicly apologized to ck'n his family and would donate to his organization. That's straight up extortion. You can't force people to pay money, and you can't take someone's show off the air and then say, hey, we'll put it back on the air if you pay this amount of money. It's straight extortion and bribery. And all we do is continuously see legal extortion and bribery. But part of the issue is that this completely goes against the First Amendment. Like, the First Amendment, freedom of speech, and I'm going to read this because I specifically wanted to make sure I got this shit right. It prohibits the government from restricting or punishing individuals for expressing their ideas, opinions, or beliefs. It protects individuals from government censorship. Now, it does say not from private companies, employers, or individuals. However, if the FCC is forcing a company and meddling in a company to discipline a comedian and a show for expressing their free speech, that's directly violating the First Amendment. And to add to it, speech that is not protected is incitement to violence, true threats, obscenities, CP, child porn, or defamation. That's not protected under the First Amendment. But political speech and criticism of the government are supposed to receive the highest level of protection. It has always received the highest level of protection. Comedians, musicians, singers, they have always been the voice. Even when it comes to when I think of minstrel music, right? Or I think of, music that of racism. Like this one guy recently did a song about hanging and lynching. And is it hate speech? Yes. Is it inciting violence? Yes. But the government cannot prosecute him for that. Like, free speech is free speech. And yes, there is a difference between free speech and hate speech. I think that that's part of the problem, is that everybody has wanted hate speech to be free speech. And that's why somebody like CK is as popular as he is and has gotten as popular as he is, as he did, because what I realize is that when it comes to hate speech, people love hate speech because they're too scared to say the shit themselves. So when it comes to all these people that are coming out in support of people who promote hate speech, promote divisiveness, and just promote fuckery, they're speaking for people who feel they can't or won't say it. But they also give them room and a space to say it, and that's the problem. Now, when it comes to seeing somebody like Stephen Colbert lose their show, Jimmy Kimmel, when you see how the FCC has control over the decisions that these companies, like Sinclair Broadcasting, Nexstar Broadcasting, that's all of our local channels and programming. When everybody, and I did a video on this called Media Wars, and I talked about this before, that we are on the brink of state media. And when the message is controlled by the top level of government, that's a problem. Because if they can control the big guy, if they have control over these larger companies, what happens to the little guy? If they're able to legally distort and bribe large companies like ABC, large companies like Nexstar and Paramount and CBS, and fucking Facebook, and I'm about to get into the tech bros next, but if they're able to control the narrative and what people say and punish people for what they say, and I'm not talking about when jobs let go of people, I'm talking about when the government is enforcing jobs to discipline people for their free speech, we should be fucking alarmed. Like, it's not a right or left issue. This is like a people issue. This is an American issue. And I don't think that people are paying that much attention to it, because another thing that really plays into this First Amendment violation and everything is technology. And right now, part of the backlash that ABC has been receiving for what they've done with canceling the Jimmy Kimmel show is people are boycotting ABC. They're boycotting Disney because Disney is the parent company. Disney owns ABC, It also owns Hulu, ESPN, and people are canceling their subscriptions. People are canceling their subscriptions, and they are also canceling like their Disney vacations. And one thing I can say is like white people are upset right now. And I love when white people get upset because that's when we actually see change. When the when the blacks and the when the minorities are complaining about it, no one cares. Soon as the whites, the Caucasians are sounding the alarm, that's when we see change and progress. And that's because this is like, if there is anything I have learned recently, like this is their country, and they have managed the rules and the game to make sure that it stays their country. But and I've said this before on previous videos. My issue when it comes to a boycott of one thing, right, is where do we draw the line with boycotts? Like, you have to, I don't think boycotting and canceling your ABC subscription, like, yeah, that's like a penny in the bucket of this full issue, because we have, like, let's remember everybody who was standing by the first line of people of seating at the inauguration. Those are the tech bros. It was Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, Sam Altman, the CEO of Google, I forget his name. Those four were right there, right behind him. And even this past week, Trump went to the banquet at Windsor in the with the King of England, and all the tech bros were with him. He brought for the CEO of Apple, the CEO of OpenAI, ChatGPT, the CFO of Google. And let's remember, when he wanted to change the name of Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America, Google actually obliged and changed it for him. The CEO of Microsoft was there. Rupert Murdoch was there. And there was this signing of this deal between I forget what it's called. I wrote it down. I can't find it. But basically there was a signing of a deal to that was symbolic of, this joint venture between England and the US and technology and AI initiatives and all this shit. But here's the thing. They're all in cahoots with the president, right? And unless if we completely separate and detach from all this technology, it won't make a difference. Google, Gmail, I'm streaming on YouTube, Google Maps. Then you have Meta. That's Facebook. That's Instagram. I think they own some other shit too. WhatsApp. I can't remember. I remember Mark Zuckerberg was buying a lot of shit. Then we have what else is there? Amazon. Jeff Bezos. I order a lot of shit off Amazon. Not even it's just a habit. Even if I canceled my Prime, I don't even care about the Prime pricing because it's like it's kind of like Pokemon. You got to catch them all. You got to boycott them all. Because to be honest, the tech bros, the apps we use, the connection we have, like that has more of an impact than boycotting ABC and Disney. And let's take it a step further. if we are going to look at this new TikTok sale, right? There was this where is it? Okay. So there's a new TikTok sale, right? The new TikTok deal. And if you remember, like, TikTok used to have an amazing algorithm before it shut down for like an hour in January when it went offline, and then they brought it back online and thanked Donald Trump for allowing them to bring it back online. Something switched that day. And what made TikTok great was because it was this app that spread information like fucking wildfire. And we had an app that wasn't suppressed with the algorithm. We had an app that you could connect and you could see what was going on around the world. You could see what was going on in your country. Like, you saw a lot of shit in the US. Like, you would see the things that you could not see before on other apps because other apps were so censored and so suppressed. And now they are reaching a new deal where it would be majority owned by the US. And on top of that, the US would control the algorithm and the data storage and the data collection. When you see how people are, you know, I remember when COVID was going on, and if anybody said the word COVID or it was just certain words where if those words were mentioned in the post, not even in the caption, if the words were said in the post or if it was like a meme or something and it said COVID, like everything automatically had a warning on it. It automatically had a warning. And they would hide it or mark it a certain way. And that always stuck out to me, how they were able to block a post just by analyzing a word said in the video. And if they were able to do that on Facebook or on Facebook and Instagram, and this is in 2020, that was even before AI became what it is now. Imagine what they would do with the new algorithm. And especially, when you know how powerful, like TikTok was this app that kind of brought the power back to the people. And since it has been back online, so many posts have been, hidden, suppressed. And I'll never forget when on the day of the inauguration, and I'm sharing like my real screenshot that I took on the day of the inauguration. If you search the hashtag Democrat on Instagram, you got the message, "We've hidden these results." And I remember I searched that shit because I was like, I saw a video talking about it and I was like, there's no way. Like, they ain't doing that. And sure enough, they were. And so if they could easily hide something at the click of a button, imagine the reach and the suppression that's going to happen after this TikTok sale. And suppression is a form of oppression. I like how that rhymes. I like that. But it is. If you stop allowing people to tell the truth of what's going on, and most of the people that are telling the truth are against you as the president, your administration, and you have your tech bros running these apps and collecting the data, you can't tell me that with everything that is going on with the suing of the larger companies, I truly believe that there is a path that they are creating to start going after smaller creators. They're going to go after, they're going to go after the ones with the millions, probably like the Midas Touch or Aaron Parnas, or, they'll probably try to go after Don Lemon and Joy Reid, who are doing independent media right now. But after they go after the big guys doing independent media, that's when they start going for the small creators, somebody like myself. Or, I know a lot of people that work in media and that are independent journalists. And that's who they're going to start going for soon. And when you think of, other countries where things happen to their journalists, I'm not trying to say be afraid, be very afraid, but I am trying to say that there is a monopoly in technology, and these tech giants are in cahoots and are up our president's ass to make sure that they can do whatever the fuck they want to do to further their company and their technology. And we're literally just pawns in all of this shit. And I say this as somebody, again, that uses the apps. So, yes, you can boycott ABC and Disney and all these apps and hit them in their pockets. But if you're talking about a boycott on an app that is ran by one of Trump's friends who is a tech giant, I don't think it's that impactful. And that's just my opinion. Another thing that I don't think is impactful is the goddamn Democratic Party right now. This week, there was a resolution that was voted on to honor CK and condemn political violence, right? Now, I'm gonna play this whole video. Al Sharpton had Hakeem Jeffries on his show, and they talked about this resolution that 95 Democrats voted for and 58 Democrats of color did not vote for. And I'm gonna play this video. Excuse me. And I'm pretty sure you guys are going to be as confused as I am after you watch it, because I don't understand what the fuck he was talking about.
And I certainly denounce what happened to him. I pray for his family, said this on the show, but I also disagree, as most of the civil rights community does, with many of the issues he purported and said, including attacks on some of us personally, me included.
You and
I.
And you,
right, he attacked. But at the same time, some of the resolution seemed to sanitize some of what he stood for. It's one thing to say about the political violence. It's another thing to embrace the mission.
That's exactly right. And I think that's why the CBC members came out with such a strong position, and why those of us who voted yes also made it clear we do not endorse any of the views that were espoused by Charlie Kirk in any way, shape, or form. And I think everyone is committed making sure as we move forward that we actually address the broader problem of political violence in America, the broader problem of extremism in America, and the broader problem that there are too many assault weapons and weapons of war in America that can be used in an instant to engage in tragic killings or mass shootings, which we've seen over and over and over again. And if Congress was really trying to be responsible under Republican leadership in the House and in the Senate, these are the issues that we'll begin to deal with once we get through this government showdown over the next few days.
What? Like, I watched that video. I watched that video a few times because that was like a word salad. And I was really, really trying to get the point, right? And all I could think was it was a word salad of utter fuckery. Like, even when it came to him acknowledging that now there's going to be a government shutdown coming up because they have to go over the budget. And I will say, I believe that he was honored because on some level, there are a lot of people in Congress and a lot of white supremacists that hate that Martin Luther King has a day, and they really fucking hate Juneteenth. And I just want to go on the record and say, I never thought Juneteenth should be a national holiday. I don't think that people that are descendants of slave masters, I don't think those kind of people should reap the benefits of having a day off for a day that celebrates when slaves found out they were free. Like it's insane to me that some people get to enjoy that day off. But I really think that they hate so much that excuse me, there are so many days that there are days that honor Black people that they needed to have on record that this guy had some sort of honor. I also remember there was a resolution that was submitted to have give him a day, and I wouldn't be surprised if Congress passed that. The thing is that what this showed me, honestly, is that for Congress to honor a person who spewed so much hateful and divisive and racist rhetoric, only to me confirms that there's a vast majority of people that agree with his ideology. And there's a vast majority, 95 to be exact, a vast majority of Democrats that either agreed with his rhetoric or don't care to stand up to it. Now, one of the comments that was made was that they went along with it because this was just a ploy to cause more divide in Congress. Who gives a fuck? Of course it is. But for the Democrats to go along with it, that just causes a divide within the own Democratic Party. And it's important to note, of the 58 people that voted against, they were all 58 people of color. I think there might have been 2 Democrats that were not of color that voted against, but there has to be some sort of line that the Democrats are willing to not bend on. There has to be, at some point, it just feels like this Democratic Party is just going to lay on their backs while and get fucked and take it for the American citizens. I completely understand that there is a Republican majority, but the way they bet, like the 95 people, I don't believe they needed to vote for that. And there's this need of always wanting to just go with it. We don't want the fighting. They're fighting. If this was brought out because the Republicans wanted to have more divisive news out there, so fucking what? It's a divisive person. It's a divisive thing. I just wish the Democrats would do more than performative acts, because we can't wait for the midterms. How much more bullshit do we need? How much more bullshit needs to happen for the Democrats to stand by and then say, "Oh, we're like," and just wait for the midterms? And what's not fair about it is because everybody, they know that people just at this point want to vote out the Republicans. And in people wanting to just vote out Republicans, it's like Democrats I feel like they just know they got a shoe in. And it's really not fair. Like, I hope with these midterms that are coming up, I hope we see a lot of new types of Democratic candidates. Like, I hope that, honestly, I hope we get some more millennials in there. I feel like Gen Xers be a little too slow and not too slow. I believe like they're too progressive. And I believe, I don't know, a lot of times when I've seen some Gen X candidates, they're a little too far left. And I hope that there are some millennials that are a little more centered. And I hope that we get Democratic candidates who, for one, aren't afraid to stand up to these fucking Republicans. Two, are willing to go against the political grain of everybody needs to get along. This is not some shit we should all be getting along with. And that's just how I feel. I hope the Democrats eventually do better. Another thing that I learned this week is I don't know shit. I did not know this little green guy here is a symbol of hate. I did not know that. I didn't know how deep meme culture went. Like, I thought that memes were just, funny little sarcastic jokes. Like, and now I understand why a lot of times I don't always get the joke. And this little frog is he's the symbol of a groiper. A groiper is supposed to be they're white supremacists and conservatives, and they are excuse me, I need some water. Their leader is Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes is another far right guy, but he's really far right. And groypers are basically so far right that they hated Charlie Kirk for not being far right enough. I did not know how deep these memes go. I felt old as shit going down these rabbit holes. And another thing that I learned about, now this is the crazy shit, right? This rabbit hole landed on my TikTok algorithm, and I just got to share it because I was like, what the fuck? All right, y'all got to follow me. It's about to get weird. I also learned about trans maxing, right? And so one thing that was this joke about Nick Fuentes, and again, Nick Fuentes is basically the leader of the groypers. Like, those are his guys. And one thing that was a joke that came out is like, Nick Fuentes has never had pussy. And a lot of these guys that are in these far right red pill groups, they've never had pussy. They're incels. And an incel is a young man that is involuntarily celibate. And so a lot of these guys that are incels hate women. They hate women for their beauty. They feel that women get ahead for their beauty, and that they hate women for having standards and not giving them pussy. The hate for women is very real and very intense. And if you've ever watched or heard some of these guys when they call into these phones for confidence, and they just talk about they hate the rejection, and they never learned how to talk to women. A lot of them are weirdos anyway. But in their hatred for women and in their love for white supremacy and their idolization of ancient Rome and white purity, they hate women so much that they feel, and again, these are rabbit holes. So I'm just summarizing what I watched. There's a feeling, or there's like a sentiment that only a man, it's kind of like only a man can really love a man, right? And they're in this group of far right incels. They have developed this thing called transmaxing, where a male is more of like a femboy who has feminine traits, and he's not necessarily like, he doesn't identify himself as trans. He's just a boy that has feminized himself to get the benefits of pretty women and get ahead. And basically, they have relationships with these guys. They fuck these guys. And the crazy thing about this is that it's gay. Like, it's gay or bisexual, or bisexuality, homosexuality or bisexuality, but there's this denial that it's like, well, it's not, because it's this trans person within their community that's not identifying as trans, but they're just a feminine guy. Like, the shit is weird. It's weird reading about it, and all I can think about is what the fuck is the world coming to, and how, and the fact that memes are very involved in this culture, in this group, in all these groups of identifying. But another thing that came out about this shit is that Ye is a groiper. And when you think of how Kanye West became a white supremacist, when you think of how Kanye West is Kanye West is very embedded in meme culture and these incels, and I had no idea, but now it made so much sense. And then there was a rumor, like, okay, a few months ago, let's not forget, Kanye West came out with a song about giving his cousin fellatio, right? And everybody was like, yo, that's some gay shit, what the fuck? But there was also a rumor, and it's alleged, no one knows, I think he said it himself, that Kanye West and Jeffree Star, there was a rumor that Kanye West and Jeffree Star had a relationship and was fucking. And if you don't know who Jeffree Star is a white male conservative makeup artist that dresses like a woman, but he still talks like a man. Like, I think he's like, I'm not sure if it's all still there, but I think that's part of his persona. But to know that Kanye West is a groiper and is very a part of this alt-right white meme culture and white supremacist culture, and the fact that even he might be sleeping with in the whole trans maxing thing, the shit is insane. And even when it comes to the fixation on ancient Rome, right? Like, ancient Rome was very, very gay, and they were very open about it. And a lot of the men had relationships with men. Their apprentice was a man. There are so many videos on YouTube about the history of young males that were taken at young ages and taken on as lovers and bought as sex slaves because they were young, and that was just the time. And I'm talking about ancient times. Like this was like ancient Rome. But this fixation that these groypers have with that time period, and this new thing, and I don't even know how new it is, but this transmaxing concept. And it's like, for an incel to be mad he can't get a woman or can't get pussy, but then start sleeping with a man that has feminine features, it's gay. It's more like you're mad because you're gay, and you're taking your anger out on women because you're not one with your homosexuality. And then to add the whole racist aspect to it, it's fucking crazy. But again, there are videos where Nick Fuentes talks about he's never been with a woman. And there was a time that Nick Fuentes was outed by somebody. And I don't have that video. And if I did, I'm not going to like play it, because it's like, I don't believe people should be outed by other people. But I do believe people should live their truth and be happy in their truth. And I think if these people were actually able to be happy in their truth, maybe they wouldn't be so mad at the world. I don't know. Again, this was the craziest rabbit hole I went down, and I had to share it because all I could think is, I don't know shit. I don't know shit about memes. I know nothing about internet culture. I am literally at the age where I am finding out a lot of shit does not make sense. And I can admit that. We are in strange times. We are in just a whole lot of chaos and craziness. And what I always ask myself, like, where does this shit go? Where does this shit end? Because, prime example, all these laws that and executive orders that Trump has passed, right? Let's say all these changes that are happening, even within the Department of Education. Department of Education is a prime example. They're dismantling it. Linda McMahon is the head of it. She is partnering with Charlie Kirk's Turning Point Foundation or Turning Point Organization. She Moms of Liberty, all conservative Christian groups that are anti 1619 Project being taught, that are anti critical race theory, that are just anti sharing the truth about fucking American history. They're going to be in charge of changing the education and the curriculum. And when they change the educational curriculum, this doesn't just change back after Trump is out of office. This doesn't just change back after midterm elections and hopefully we get Democratic majorities. Like, where does this shit end? And when do things go back to normal? Can we go back to normal? Is there a sense of normalcy? Like, that's, I think, what scares me the most about the times we are living in, is that there is no certainty. So yeah, I hope that, I know this. I'm never one to contribute to conspiracy theories, right? I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I am not the kind of person that I don't believe everything I hear like at first, right? And I'm not a doomer, right? Like, I'm not a person that um is doom and gloom. But this shit is scary. It is. But through it all, I'm big on community, and I'm big on using my platform. And, if it's one thing I'm going to do, I'm going to look some shit up, and I'm going to share my unfiltered take and my unapologetic truth about it. And that's just where we're at. So I'm going to see y'all next week for some more unfiltered takes. and some unapologetic truth. And no matter what, y'all, we gonna get through this shit together. Okay. I'm Miss Megan Rihanna, and this is our Sunday Sound Off.